the blacks and John Doe's. Crack open them land patents, let go of them townhomes. What's a native to a native? He $5 dough if he not melanated. Pale faces got you waiting on a savior. Sending prayers up, he texting back on vacation. Yeah, God's children. Give all your praise to Jesus, but how God feeling? He say put no one before him in divine image. It's you with God of Christians. I got a vision, but niggas ain't gotta listen, so they don't. We came from the soil, wasn't fucking with no boats. Bible took our spirit, English plotted on our homes. Tribal families turned on us, don't act like y'all don't know. But fuck them and they grudges. We was something turned to nothing. And now we nothing's turned to something. Reincarnation of ancients, fresh up out the oven. This the message to the black man. 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 Shooters on my roof, lawyers in the coop. We can never die, bitch, we bulletproof. This the message to the black man. This the message to the black man. Say you wasn't slaves, you was prisoners of war. You stop wasting your time, these other bitches ain't important. You ain't meditating, you ain't mating with the sauce. Like what the fuck's a noodle if you ain't painted with the sauce? I find it hard to trust the pastor who rather side with the master, who preaching we should submit while getting murdered and captured. About how we should wait on God is never our vernacular.
Yo, we back on the new channel. We back on the regular scheduled programming. Make sure y'all tap in. This is the Wake and Bake Show, so y'all already know how we about to set this thing off. Let go.
That bitch up, right?
Let go.
Yeah, truth can't be told, it gotta be realized. The truth can't be told, it gotta be realized. Freedom ain't free, it ain't legalized. Can't be told, it gotta be realized. Freedom ain't free, it ain't realized. Freedom ain't free, it ain't realized. Freedom ain't legalized. Realize. Freedom ain't free, it ain't legalized. Real eyes, realize. Freedom ain't free, it ain't legalized. Real eyes, realize. Yeah. Slavery was a long time ago. How? Same motherfuckers still here right now. Colonized on our land, they ahead of us. Changed our name so much, they scared of us. Children of the sun, y'all don't compare to us. Pale-faced people, this ain't y'all area. Talking about America, pale-faced people, this ain't y'all area. Even up the playing field, bitch, I'm darn. How you a victim, bitch, you a Karen. Cognitive dissonance, you don't need sperm. You got white privilege, so you don't need sperm. Looking at my homeland, man, I can't believe it. Colonized came here, they ain't never leave here. Indians ain't die off cause we here. You ain't gotta lie, just say you won't be here. How you American but not indigenous? 400 years still ain't get rid of us. All Europeans, naturalized citizens, made all the Indians niggas on the census. 1492, we was on the fences. Civil rights movement, we was so defensive. Black Wall Street, whites got so offended. Common law rights gave us amendments. Thank God don't speak truth, that's alright. First slave 1619 was all white. 1200 wasn't no continent, all white. Europe named after a black woman, alright. Grafted, it come from us, do your research. Go within, quit listening to the teacher. And the nuki got voice coming out the speaker. Cut off trees down and made us weaker. Really they foreigner, the shit gets deeper. Whites don't know where whites come from either. I'm Aborigine, we come from the ether. Ruling over us in our land, that's evil. Being colonized right now, black people. Prisoner of the war, that's why it ain't equal. Wake up everybody, don't be no sheeple. Freedom ain't free, really freedom is illegal. And we can't get mad at this. Whites act like we can't see their advantages. Privilege is real, they working in management. Low down dirty, but they calling us savage. They want you to think they above us. All white people are part-time judges. I ain't no racist, but I ain't no sucker. I ain't no African, but they my brothers. Been lied to, I got built up anger. You built everything, still waiting on the savior. Don't call yourself black, please do me that favor. Black tourmaline will protect you from a hater. Listening to your oppressors is dangerous. Gave us a Bible and stole our nation. Said we couldn't read, but we didn't know the language. Kept us on paper because we didn't see the danger. American Indian, keep the religion. Skin copper color look just like a penny. Wanted our land and you called us stingy. Ain't no Democrats there together, pay attention. We got ancestors, but the papers is missing. Kings and queens, but you can't remember. Remember who you are, just like Simba. Now they got a vax, we don't want that in us. George Washington is the ninth president, look it up. United States, only 10 square blocks, look it up. White people really the minorities, look it up. Courtrooms don't got authorities, look it up. You want me, say stop governing me. Gave me a straw man, it's really not me. Why you don't keep it 100 with me? Why Trayvon Killer still walk around free? Made this song for the truth, don't hate it. History was told in reverse, I stated. You still oppressed, somebody gotta say it. I'm taking out of school, that's the reason I made it. History, it's his story. History, it's his story. History, it's his story. History, it's his story. It ain't my story. History is his story. Probably ain't your story. History is his story.
Look, did you know there were
Hey, as we wait on this shit to get in, make sure y'all hit the like button, share the live stream, and hey, drop them fire emojis, man. We back on the regular Aboriginal Power channel, man. Let's get it cracking. You know what I mean? Support the channel.
Infamous Trey Ali.
I said paper on paper on paper. Ain't no genocide, we was killed on paper. Buried us alive in the proudest of the paper. They know who we are, swear they hate us cause they ain't us. I said paper on paper on paper. Ain't no genocide, we was killed on paper. Buried us alive in the proudest of the paper. They know who we are, swear they hate us cause they ain't us. I said gotta never die, never left us. Even though they took your homie, still behind you like a catcher. Life is like a doctor, everybody want their checkup. Money, he been preaching, charge for a confession. See, ain't nobody focused on the bullshit that they told us. I was trying to pin you sick when ain't nobody came before us. We the best part of waking up before the foes. That's why they want your backs against the wall like a poster. Indoctrination being sold as education. Most of history they taught you came from some imagination. Roots was never true, fuck the whole compilation. Fuck Walter Plecker, fuck Alex Haley. America is Egypt, Israel, Queen Khalifa. Babylon used to dabble by NY, check my fever. Niggas think I'm lying cause they sleeping. But bitch, I ain't no fool shopping my toes every season. I said paper on paper on paper. Ain't no genocide, we was killed on paper. Buried us alive in the proudest of the paper. They know who we are, swear they hate us cause they ain't us. I said paper on paper on paper. Ain't no genocide, we was killed on paper. Buried us alive in the proudest of the paper. They know who we are, swear they hate us cause they ain't us. Guess I gotta start bad rap and tell these niggas how it happened. Control is a goal, now you space like William Shatner. Technology's economy has overthrown your balance. Now your headaches come from ways Microsoft's up in your atmosphere. Fears how they take you, they spank you for being active and questioning all the requisites made to prevent disasters. Clearing out the churches, FEMA talking to the pastor. Got the online tithing, it's survival for the masses. And never loved our classics, but bite off our originals. Reclassify your favorite rhymes the way they did the Seminoles. I'm so black pride that my inside's purple. If the world had never died, they probably never alert you. You need to venture out and stop sticking the circles. Strength numbers react different to curfews. The movement not perfume, the streets ain't gold. Our summer so cold, we left the fall on froze. I said paper on paper on paper. Ain't no genocide, we was killed on paper. Buried us alive in the proudest of the paper. They know who we are, swear they hate us cause they ain't us. I said paper on paper on paper. Ain't no genocide, we was killed on paper. Buried us alive in the proudest of the paper. They know who we are, swear they hate us cause they ain't us. I said paper on paper on paper. Ain't no genocide, we was killed on paper. Buried us alive in the proudest of the paper. They know who we are, swear they hate us cause they ain't us. I said paper on paper on paper. Ain't no genocide, we was killed on paper. Buried us alive in the proudest of the paper. They know who we are, swear they hate us cause they ain't us.
And we are here, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Hopefully everybody's having a beautiful, beautiful grand rising. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody on the Wake and Bake. This is the Wake and Bake show, and this is your brother, Big Aboriginal Power. Good to see y'all back. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the debacle last night that we had with the brother Ramil Amir. Shout out to the brother Ramil Amir for showing up. Most people don't even show up these days, so we got to at least give credit to the ones that show up. You know, half of these motherfuckers in the community, we can challenge them to a debate. They'll talk and never show up. So, hey, give that man some credit for at least showing up and standing on what he believes in. But it was an easy one, man. That was an easy one. He put up a nice fight. But, you know, that was just an easy one, man. That was his first one getting into the history. I like to see him back, get comfortable, you know, dive into, do a little more research. Definitely like to see him back. Maybe not with me necessarily. I think it's 11-0. We 11-0 now, y'all. 11-0. I like to see him back again, maybe with another brother. I like to line up some other debates with some of you guys, man, because y'all be going back, man. Y'all failed to compromise to have an understanding, which is a debacle. And some of you guys need to get up on here and let it all out. You see what I'm saying? Put it on the line. Let the people decide. Let's shout out the people that took their time out for me. You feel what I'm saying? Let me shout out everybody in the chat. Shout out to J-Rock. Hold on. I want to let me 2 seconds, y'all. I'm trying to figure out how to scroll up on this goddamn chat. All right. Let me shout out to the brother Zoe Hustle. Shout out to Zoe Hustle in the building. Scats in the building. J-Rock, Son of California. Craig Lloyd in the building. Who else we got in here? Tom Jones, Lewis Luck, Tashawn, King Deezy, Truth Over Everything, aka Dot, Matrix Glitch, Chief Courtney Michelle in the building, Grassroots in the building. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Support the channel as y'all come off in the building. Come on in here. Make sure y'all get them bots out of here. Shout out to Grassroots. J-Rock, bet you a Kern. That's what he said. Shout out to Threads. Brandon Rogers, Mr. Brandon Rogers to you. Who else we got up in the building? We got Keith Lamont. We got the Wick Nick in here. We got Black Lotus, Ivy, Peace Sis, Darius Matthews, Sister Soul Main Radio, Matthew Simmons. We got Philosophy Stewarts in the building. Shout out to everybody that took their time out to rock out. Shout out to everybody. That's what's up. Yeah, Drip Check. Shout out to my brother, my drippy twin, Shata Okamura in the building. Yeah, man. So I thought it was a good little debacle. You know, since I got everybody's name, I need y'all to hit the like button, share the live stream. We back on the regular channel. Let's get it going. I'm gonna give y'all a couple seconds, and I'll be right back with y'all. Let's get it.
Hey man, all I'm saying is, nigga, you always got something to say. It's like you don't shut up.
Blazing on the track.
A lot of niggas died 1865. Single Michael fled highway, ain't gon' let it ride. Everybody hot and black was never on your side. They do maps to tell your apps where you sleep at night. They put that white man on. Got you begging them for answers like that white man know. Had you swearing you was African, that's that white man home. Had you proud to be a savage, that's that white man's zone. And I ain't talking shit, this by definition. If being savage was our nation, y'all be non-existent. We done took your ass out when we was in them kitchens. Instead of showing you how to live and how to maintain business. White supremacy fake. Only way that shit real is if you do what they say. We the God to the gate. So when they say they fear God, now you know what they made. Choose song.
Yeah. So yeah, man, we back, man. Like I said, I just want to do a little quick build on that, man. Seeing what's up with everybody, how y'all feel about it. How many of y'all was in the chat and got to enjoy the build last night? I mean, how many of y'all was in there last night? I know it was a late build. We got in there kind of late. It was started at 8, prime time, Eastern Standard. And it ended about 11 o'clock, you know what I mean? Right at 11 o'clock on the nose, right? You know what I mean? So it was about a good 3-hour debate. It was good. Why you beat little bro up like that? Nah, he came with it, man, but he got smoked bad. And it would have just been even brutal if the screen sharing was there, because just the visuals that I had pulled up for you guys just would have sunk him down even worse, man. But that was an easy beat up, you know what I mean? That was just like one of them left hand behind my backs. I didn't do no research that whole week, did I? Did I do any research that week? I didn't even have the computer really loaded up till like 20 minutes before the debate. Shit. So that was an easy one. That was just an easy one. You know, shout out to that brother, though. I like to get a little more challenge in. You know what I'm saying? Who else wants some of Debo? You feel what I'm saying? Who else wants some of Debo? Yeah. Give me that chain, nigga. You talk about your grandmama gave it, maybe made that chain. Nigga, you know, like her. Nigga, Debo and her. You want something too, old man? You see what I'm saying? That's what we on around here. So make sure y'all tap in. Like I said, I like to see some of you other brothers get in here and get it in. Debunk.com. Yeah, man, the last career ender, man. The last career ender. See, these guys need that dude was actually undefeated in different topics, more like social dynamics, you know, should you be with a gender bender or not, you know, them type of shits. You know what I'm saying? I'm not really into those conversations, but we can go there with it. You know, the truth is the truth. You know what I mean? I ain't with no pump and dump gender benders type of, you know what I mean? We cool on that. I'm good. Now it's about time to take out the trash, you guys. The garbage can is full. You know, time to take out the trash in the community. And so that's what we doing, man. We're gonna get right back to this information. It ain't stopped. We putting together more fire bills. We putting the more intellectual clashes. You know, the information been around. We keep hearing y'all say the same shit. Now it's time for you to put it on the line with somebody challenging the narrative. This goes for the Black European believers that's out here pushing the Black European, which is the out of Africa theory still. The Black Europeans coming here. Hey, we're challenging that too. So if y'all want to have an intellectual discourse and get in the ring with Big Al Power, any of you Black European believers, or think that y'all are Native Americans, a lot of y'all still adapt to Native American culture. Y'all still throwing feathers and buckskins and moccasins, and y'all niggas be dancing around. Like, come on. Like, that's not our culture. Like, our people, come on. Yeah, we should go back to just slapping rocks together. No, I mean, some of our shit that our ancestors did, it wasn't primitive. Yeah, they might have cooked on an open fire, but that's for health reasons. Yeah, they might have motherfucking you know what I mean, did this, that, and the third, but they did it for health reasons for the most part. They understood nature and the connection between it and themselves. That's ecology. You know, the relationship between nature and how it affects you and benefits you and how it benefits from you is called ecology. You see what I'm saying? If y'all still believe your grandma was in a teepee slapping rocks, hugging a tree, you still got another thing coming. You cannot go far back, no far back. You don't give for how far you go back, you won't find your grandmama in a teepee slapping rocks, hugging trees. That's not gonna happen. That's not part of our culture. You know, these guys are these guys have a failed understanding, and what they do is they get so smart they forget the critical thing. They get so smart or trying to get so much clout they forget to analyze, they forget to cross reference, and the reason they forget this is because they don't really have the motion to teach the truth. They only here to do what they got to do. You know, it ain't for the truth. It ain't for y'all. We'll get into that later. But these niggas ain't showing you. These niggas ain't cross reference. These niggas gonna read John Jacobs' article all the way through. They ain't gonna add no inserts. They ain't gonna say where he fucked up at. None of that. And you niggas push the same narrative. When are you see? It's brothers like us that when people put out information, we able to come together, look at it, critical think, and challenge the narrative to get it changed based off of the data. It's happened time and time again. A lot of you guys don't critical think like that. You rather not critical think. Yeah. You guys rather not critical think. Yeah. Like you said, Zoe Hustle, they weird. They felonious seat sniffers. You see what I'm saying? Just felonious with it. You see what I'm saying? Weirdos. You know what I'm saying? These guys don't put up enough information. These guys don't put out enough primary research. These guys gonna go to a NBC article talking about Geronimo and how the Comanches and the Apaches went to Texas, and now y'all trying to make the Apaches black, like they in the hood. Like, yeah, man, it's Native Americans in a trap. Like, come on, we can't do that. This ain't no Native Americans in a trap. This ain't what's going on. The history that you got is fake. It's been eluded from some bullshit. You got to learn how to eat the meat and spit out the bones. Hell, we learn from everybody else. I be learning from everybody. I can take some information, listen to it, and be able to decipher or disseminate what I need from it based off of my own research and information, and add to or to take away. Either one. Sometimes you got to reinsert too. Sometimes it's things that you got to change within your understanding that you just come across something new. You see what I'm saying? That's the part about being the truth teller. You know, that's the part about being a researcher. You're going to have constant changes, especially when new data is being arrived. You're going to have to replace the old and out with the old and in with the new. See, a lot of you niggas stay stagnant, you know, and that's no good. If information usually is a metaphorical term, when you hear in poetic literature, you hear information metaphored as water. Water is usually symbolic for information, for enlightenment. And if we are water and information is water and you become stagnant, what happens to stagnant water? What happened to stagnant water that is sitting? It's no longer in motion. It's no longer has a flow. What happens to this water? It becomes a festering filth for bacteria, ultimately diseases, and then other insects and species, and it just leaves room for a bunch of mess to be created. That's what happens when you become stagnant. Your information is no longer drinkable. It's no longer useful. It can no longer be received into the body as nutrients once it becomes stagnant. So your information must keep a flow on it, and you must keep it going. The key to survival is constant motion. Can I get some fire emojis in here? Can I get some fire emojis? We want to make sure that we constantly check where we are with the information to make sure we're not stagnant in it, to make sure we're constantly growing, to constantly moving, evolving, elevating. Some people try, but I say we should be triumphant. See, some people just try, but I say we should be triumphant. But yet we're still taking ridicule based off our understanding, based off of what we're challenging. You see what I'm saying? What's up, Pop Reed, Hard Rock, Marcus Adun? I see y'all in the chat. Make sure y'all share the live stream. We back on the Aboriginal Power channel, man. Yeah. You thought they was gonna shut us down? No, we back. We're gonna be operating off both channels though. BAP News, all that. I might be doing more uploads on BAP News than anything. Might just do uploads over there. Dr. Hood, Dr. Doom. I mean the Hood, Dr. Doom. Also, see some tribal names up in here. What's some tribal names? What's a tribal name, kids? Niggas be Tyrannosaurus Rex out here. Yeah, these niggas be whole Tyrannosaurus Rex. I'm glad you did that because I got a whole bill set up right around that whole topic. So let's get right into that. Good transition, big bro. Let's get into that right now.
Question. Would you build a...
Let's get into that right now. Drop some fire emojis. Y'all ready to get into this build that I have lined up for you guys today. Y'all ready? Let's get it.
Time, knowing the realm that they existed in, go to these different realms based upon the openings that they had charted and realized would exist and open due to their understanding of the realm, i.e. the sphere or the whatever you want to call it, right? So, for instance, I'll show you. So when you go and they go back, remember I showed you the article about the Asiatic man that existed from time immemorial here in America, that they dated his DNA in the patrilineal sense going back 385,000 years, which then means, you know, the devil, you got to add another 385,000 to that because you're going to undercut your numbers always. Like they still got us believing that we only make up 13% of the nation. So every other people in the country is raising, but we're always at a steady 13% ever since what, 1961? And that's supposed to be normal. But anyway, when you look at what they perceive as that, they did a restructuring period where they started to tell the truth somewhere around the end of the old Barry administration. And he put out that the oldest joint they found in Morocco goes all the way back to, again, ancient Phoenicia and all of that. And they made a reconstruction of his image or face. A lot of people said that he looked like 50 Cent, right? Which is funny. But this is what a so-called North African, or the original ancestors of all the people who call themselves North Africans or Northern Africans today, was said to look like.
So listen, what he's saying is this is the bones that dude was talking about in Morocco last night at 300,000 years old. This would have been a reconstruction of what he looked like. This would have been the reconstruction of what he looked like.
But then when you look at it from this perspective, right, of the giant period, you see this thing right here. Of course, they're not going to make them look dark, but you see what I'm saying? You see it here, it says Giant of Mauritania. See this, right? Giant of the Swiss, Goliath. So when you think of Goliath and David and Goliath, he was big. But the Swiss giants compared to the Mauritanian giants, and then the Mauritanian giants going into now the real big ones, and then the ones that was bigger than this, that actually became the land and stuff like that. Now you're getting into a heavy macrocosm. So in that, these ancient Mauritanians, the ancient Mauritanians, being that they were the ones that was over here, when you read the Emerald Tablets and stuff like that, you don't read about certain things. Like when you read the Bible about the people that they say are the Hebrews that did this, and that, there's no mention of things like the Sphinx or the pyramids or anything that came to be known in the Hebrew story. You understand? So in the Hebrew story, it says that they were used to build the pyramids. However, there's no book that they get the story from is the Bible. But when you read the actual so-called Bible, there's no evidence of pyramids, one being in it, number one. And then number two, there's no evidence that these pyramids was actually built by the people they say built them. So then we have what? We have a point where we have to make the history make sense in order to maintain the new system that we're implementing. You understand? You understand? So systems of education have to be created to justify the existence of this reality that we are made to believe is real. And thus that must be taken from the real sciences that existed at the time, right? Brought by the high culture that was doing it big at the time, who was us. So in order for them to turn it into the stuff they needed to be today, the manure that we call education today, they had to reduce the essence of the type of education we were dealing with at the time of the fall. Okay? Everybody got that? So when's the time of the fall? According to them, all right, on January 2nd, 1492, King Boabdil, right, surrendered Granada to the Spanish forces. And in 1502, the Spanish crown ordered all Muslims forcibly converted to Christianity. The next century saw a number of persecutions, and in 1609, the last Moors still adhering to Islam were expelled from Spain. Now, if we take the one from in front, all of the numbers, then that means in 492, this happened, right? Because we know that the 1,000-year Reich was added at the end of the World War II.
Facts.
After everything was destroyed. And so from 492 to 502 to 609, right? Those that were now expelled from Spain. But if you look at this, Spain, remember, did not exist in 502. Spain did not exist in 492. So these Spanish forces that they're talking about, right, had to be something else. These Spanish forces are what we refer to as the old Roman forces, okay? And because of that, one of the things that were left behind, or one of the agreements in it, actually was a sale between the King Esagil, which coincidentally is the planet in Star Wars that the Emperor escaped to, which is crazy. Anyway, Esagil, who was the uncle of Boabdil, is the one who made the deal with Elizabeth under a treaty or a sale document, bill of lading, or receipt document called the Te Deum. And that came due in 1491. And so in that, I'm not going to go through all of the tenets of the treaty, but it basically says, Moors shall not give or pay to the Highness more tribute that day than accustomed to paying to the Moorish kings. Because remember, this is now all over the world. This is not just Spain, Moorish Spain, or what they call the Moorish Empire. Remember, you find the architecture of them all over the world. And I just showed you that a lot of these Moors was giants, right? We just saw that, right? Because they descend again from that ancient thing that they could actually trace. But there were certain tenets where all of the tenets in the surrender of Granada, like we as Moors, we all should have a treaty of the surrender of Granada. You know what I mean? Because these are the things that are still held accountable today, because the Pope was the one that signed off on all this. Because it actually wasn't a surrender. It was basically a dispossession for a certain amount of time.
Out the bone. This is a fire history.
No more shall be forced to become Christian against his will.
See,
that's a direct contravention of what was supposed to happen in 1502.
Different classifications and
so what this again shows is that you're not supposed to give an inch to these people, because the minute you do, they take advantage. The Moors shall not be compelled or forced into any kind of military service against their will. Now think about the whole Muhammad Ali instance and him actually choosing the name Muhammad Ali and what that translated to in actual Muslim customary law, which was the Republican form of law, which is translated in the Republican form of law they were trying to hold him under. See why he couldn't go to jail? Why he couldn't be compelled to do it? Because he got that science from who? Who named him? Elijah Muhammad. And Elijah Muhammad at that time was the only Moor, right, who was in the Nation of Islam, because he got his understanding under the Prophet Noble Jew Ali when he was Elijah Pool Bey. Therefore, he had a direct line from the Prophet to take that name Ali, right, to then represent both the Nation of Islam and the so-called Moors, which is why you see Muhammad Ali in Moroccan burnous and fez and all of that. Islam, right? So this shows you, again, when you reach a certain level and you take your true name, they got to give you a certain degree. And then after he took the name Muhammad Ali, that's when everything started switching. The mob left him alone. The United States had to leave him alone, right? But again, he's still a man, and he still fell victim to his lower self, being that he was still a celebrity. See what I mean? Hollywood, the women and all of that. See? So, again, all of this tying into the same understanding that everything that we're dealing with now is based on our forced amnesia or how do you say, willful amnesia on what it takes to really ascend and take this stuff back. So the science that they then alternate to get what they want came out of the original science that was governing the world at that time. At that time, let's say the Latin aspect of us understanding Allah was in the form of what you would call ontology, right? Because ontology, this is when you say onto or unto the end of time, right? Ontology deals with the actual science of being, what it takes to actually exist, and what it takes to exist as a being in a reality. See what I'm saying? Because reality is the aspect of life that can only be experienced, right, through existence. Yet one can exist without being. You see? So this is the birth of what our ancient ancestors as sages and stuff in the ancient classical periods were referred to as the predominant paradox, right? After that, we have the science of pneumatology, right? Which is really the science of the breath or the logos. How, when Allah said, light, let there be light, when it actually was uttered outwardly, how that utterance activated something within that dark to manifest what is we refer to as the logos. This is now going from ontology, right, being in existence, now into how that existence translates or transliterates into physical life, or the existence of life in a reality, reality being another name for universe, right? Then under that, we have anthroposophy, right? Which is where we get now the history and the aspect of man. Opus from the anir, from the so-called Greek, right? But opus meaning eye, or like oculus. Sophia meaning wisdom, but also Egypt. Sophia is another name for the place they call Egypt. From there, psychology, which is the study of the psyche, psyche coming from the Latin or the ancient goddess of the mind. At that time, though, certain philosophers like Virgil or more Virgil or even Aurelius looked at it that the soul and the psyche was the same thing. But people like Socrates and these other ones was more about the separation and that the soul was subordinate to the mind. And then by the time you get to people like Hoyle, right? They're basically saying that it doesn't, or Nietzsche, none of it exists. It's not even real. There is no mind. There is no God. You know what I'm saying? Because, well, there's only the mind, because the mind created God. So therefore, God is subordinate to the mind. All that type of bullshit. Right? So all of that is then reflected then in theodicy, right? Theo meaning God, right? Also language, also meaning dyke. Like we know dyke has a slang meaning, but it also has a meaning of being able to hold water, right? But dyke also means judgment. Well, I'll get into that. Where do the souls go when they transition? That's where you get into the cosmology. Where you get into the cosmos, which is basically means to order, arrange, dispose, right? That's why when you watch alien movies, the aliens are always coming from the stars, like coming to dispose, like coming to destroy, because the idea of the cosmos really is the applicable unknown. So in writing, for instance, there are certain tropes that are used to garner the mind along the idea of the story. But every trope used is an idea or a symbol of something else. So the monster in the movie is always the aspect of the self that's not being dealt with. You know what I'm saying? The killer chasing the person is the problems and the things that the person hasn't faced. You dig what I mean? That's what the killer really is. Because we've seen in the movie that the person that's being chased and killed, there's a choice they could have made not to be chased and killed, but they chose the opposite, right? So this killer now represents their rotten choices. See what I'm saying? Like, so like movies we think is one thing is about something totally different. Like Top Gun was not about planes and all of that. That was really about whether or not Tom Cruise, the character Maverick, was going to be gay or not. Why? Because it wasn't until his girlfriend started dressing like Goose that he started to have the physical relationship with her. You know what I'm saying? But the whole thing was about them, you know, grab-assing and doing the things that those guys do with each other. And his ultimate choice to choose the female that was, once she chose to become more dominant like the males. Because up until then, she was in the skirts, the dresses, the shirts. Look at the movie. Go back and look at the movie from this perspective, and you see what I'm talking about. So that's what I'm saying. Like the Princess and the Frog. The princess, she was a great character. Like she was the only Disney princess to have a job. She had like a job. She was a princess, and she had like she had a business. And she was an entrepreneur, and she had her own understanding of culture, and she was a princess trying to put the people on. So what did they do? They turned her into a frog for the whole movie. Why a frog? Because the frog deal in the swamp. What's in the swamp? That's where we hide all of the ancient artifacts and all of the stuff that we did from the old technology, from the old society. See what I'm saying? Excuse me. So these sciences, what I'm saying here, are the ancient, or let's say the precept sciences of all of the basic stuff that we're dealing with today. But from the Moorish perspective, right, this is how it's interpreted through us, or how we interpreted it. You did? So where people saw us practicing a religion, so like the average normie would see us like praying to the east, and they would think, oh, they doing some sort of ritual religion thing. But what we're doing is we're ordinating ourselves to the central location of the magnetic force, right? The same force you see they talking about in Star Wars. Understand? Like all of us right now should be sleeping towards the east. Like get a compass and see in your crib if you're sleeping in a northern section, that's not good, because the northern pole is magnetic. So all of the iron that you built up over the days, the years, the months is being sucked up out of you into that northern energy. What you need is the eastern portion, because now that's the giving energy. That's not everything from the south giving us the magnetic energy that's being taken. That's why we used to walk barefoot and all that. But the white man made it like that we was stupid. Like we was thinking all of that. I mean, because he poisoned the ground where you couldn't do it. See what I'm saying? So these sciences, these ancient sciences were, again, couldn't be totally destroyed, because how they going to run the new reset time period? So in the 385,000 years that your ancestors existed, right, they used symbols to represent themselves and certain energies that they had traditional power of. And when those cultures used those symbols, they tied themselves back to the ancient source by which this magnetic force would come from. That's why you find the same architecture or same stylish type of architecture or writing or whatever in all of these different cultures, because at one time they were all the same culture. It's like the 5 boroughs in New York. They all are in New York, but they all got their own customs and cultures, right? And so because of that, you were able to then do trading and all the other type of stuff or whatever. And this is how the cultures transcended into other cultures. So you say, at what point do these cultures end? Well, the more technologically advanced the society gets, the more spiritually decadent it becomes. Whereas the more spiritual and enlightened and high the society gets, the less technological and advanced it usually becomes. There's rarely been a society where both have been stimulated. And those that have existed in such a way are so mythic that we can't even actively prove that they existed. Yet the idea of them persists, which then means what? They were real. In the genetic code, enough to be passed down from the different cultures and generations that adopted the symbols that would act as genetic and spiritual oculus markers that would allow you to tap into all of this stuff. So where somebody sees all of these as different culture symbols, I see these as the same symbol, left by the same original people that was there. Just the Phoenician, the Canaanite wound up moving from Brooklyn to Queens, and then set up the Phoenicians. And then they got too hot for them there, and then they went and set up the Hebrews. You see what I'm saying? And then they went from there and then set up the Aramaics, the Hindus, so forth and so on. But they're the same people. But after so many generations, they even forget that. Yeah, you sleep with your head facing the east. So as you see, these are all the same thing. So because they're the same thing, they have the same, what they call paragenesis. Therefore, they follow along the thing. But in none of these cultures did we read about things like they talk to us about in modern history class. So like right now, there's an actor called, I bring it to entertainment as well, because it makes it easier to grasp, I think, the conceptual idea in comparison to just a bunch of just pictures and jargon. So there's an actor named Chris Pratt who plays Star-Lord, who the people who are trying to destroy modern culture really hate. And they hate him because he's not a homosexual and he is about family and he happens to be a Republican, but he don't post his views, nothing. So because of that, and they don't ever bait him into anything, they really hate him, right? So I saw some comment that somebody made about him, and it was crazy because when you look at that type of virulent control over somebody that's...
Hey, y'all, I know y'all can tapping in. I ain't really said too much. I'm just letting him drop his science, man. Pay attention. It's some good science. I need y'all to hit that like button. Share the live stream. You know what I mean? Share the live stream. Shout out to old dude for the cash out donation. Old dude sent the cash out donation. Appreciate the support and supporting the channel, man. Appreciate everything that y'all do. Make sure y'all hit the like button, share the live stream, and make sure y'all drop them fire emojis so we continue this thing up.
Playing a fictional characters. You see, this shows you how invested people are into the reality or things being real when they really aren't. So I bring that up to say what I was saying about so-called Egypt. We know as Moors that ancient Egypt and all of that stuff really represented wherever the so-called Kamites, or people referred to as Kamites, existed at, right? We also know that the term Egypt represented can be translated from one of the stones that says land of the blacks, right? The thing is, you don't know if an Egyptian in that instance put that inscription up. Maybe that was somebody like that, because like that, the ancient Egyptians looked at anybody that was considered Asiatic, meaning not from Egypt, as being a barbarian. So this idea of the barbarian not having the aquiline features of a certain culture, right, or customary people, started with us, right? The whole Hyksos thing. Like when I was in school, they was telling me that the Hyksos was some sort of white, right? Which I struggle to exist in or understand how that could be when there were no white people in Africa at that time. Or at least that's how the stuff was put to me, right? In terms of historical understanding. So in accepting that flaw in the story, I figured that something else was going on. So in doing more knowledge to it, I started to understand that, well, if I started to look at things from a different perspective. So like if the oldest pyramid over there is the Saqqara pyramid, let's say, right? And that was built by built by Imhotep in the relationship to Zoser, right? And that's the only one over there. But over here now, the step pyramid was the basis of all of the pyramids. And the older pyramids over here are all step. And the younger ones over there are the ones in pyramidian shape. That would then mean that somebody who was hip to the step stuff over here brought it to them over there. But when we say over here and over there, that's still a nominal understanding if we take into a context that the whole thing was still connected. And so how we see the Atlantic Ocean, our ancestors looked more to our ancestors like a river. Because our ancestors, a lot of them, some of them were gigantic and some of them were very small. But all of them were the rulers of that epoch of time, from that time immemorial, like the people before them. So when we talk about Hercules and Achilles, right? Y'all saw Troy, right? Y'all saw Troy with Brad Pitt and Eric Bana, right? And he was upset at what happened to him. And so he fought against Memnon and Memnon's army, all because Hector's little brother was P-whipped for Helen and was willing to upset the deal that everybody made to keep the peace. And so Achilles, in response, winds up killing Hector, but he was cursed for killing Hector because Hector was the good dude. Hector was the one protecting the kingdom, just like Achilles was, but Achilles again had a big head. So this
shout out to the Andrea for the cash out donation, supporting the dollar challenge.
Right? See what I'm saying? The same story. Tony, right, wants to protect the world. So what does he do? He creates Ultron, right? But he don't tell nobody he doing it. To the point that the Hulk had to tell him, yo, son, you can't be doing this. You got to at least tell him. And what did Tony say? I'm not with the committee. Why? Because Tony's rich, right? Tony's talented, and he's about his agenda, right? Who that sound like? Now take that to real life. That's Elon Musk, right? And Starlink, which is literally like causing low-key international incidences, like for real, like it's not. I'm laughing, but it's not a joke. Really not a joke. This Ukraine shit is tied up in that. Russia about to invade the Ukraine. Y'all ain't heard about that though, right? Russia about to invade the Ukraine. Israel is launching low-key sorties into Iran with the United States, but the United States now got to make a choice whether or not they're going to back them. But we worry about whether Joey Splat and what's his name done shot dog, and Michi Grape done shot dog. Like this where we at. Do you see why our people not ready to run nothing yet? Yeah, China about to invade Taiwan. What's the operational plan for that? What we going to do if that happens? But anyway, getting back to Achilles, representing the pride coming before the fall, he killed a good dude and was thanked for it. And if you look at these rappers, they all killed by their friends. Even Gaga allegedly sacrificed Leia Morgana, if they not the same person. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this has been out. And a rumor that don't die. You know what I mean? Especially with stuff like that. But anyway, because Brad Pitt played the story and Eric Bana and them is in it, and they playing, we not watching our history play out. That's what's happening right now. So again, I'm showing you this dude right here with the spear. This is Achilles. This is Hector after the fight that you saw in the movie in real life. This is Memnon. This is the guy that is on Succession now as the father, but he played Memnon with the braids. And they gave this nigga braids in the movie. But yeah, he played Memnon in the movie. And what was the summit of the movie? They brought the Trojan horse in. The Greeks, thinking they won, accepted the gift, and look what happened. Thus the expression, beware of Greeks bearing gifts. Thus the reason why Greeks weren't even considered white until after World War II. Really, until Greece was founded, which I think was in like 71, bro. Really. So what I'm saying is the perceived Greek culture that they've given us don't exist. That's not real. Okay? It's fake. Just like most of the Egyptian culture that they give us is fake. Here's another Greek. This is Socrates. Okay? But these Greeks at the time would have referred to themselves by whatever nation state that they represented. The same way today, if I met a person from the continent and I said, hey, well, where are you from? They would say, oh, I'm from Burkina Faso or Ghana or Senegal.
I think we're unique because now, as you can see, we are in a studio atmosphere. We're not in a remote atmosphere anymore. But then how do we kind of continue to use StreamYard?
Came on, stupid ass shit.
So-called Greek, which is really Peloponnesian, i.e. Macedonian, Ionian, Dorian, Corinthian. What else was over there? Etruscan, which is the precursor to, which is the intermediate period of Carthage. And then on your right here is the fake Egypt that they built that we think is Egypt today. The real Egypt is the stuff under the sand. The fake Egypt is the stuff that they put above the sand and reallocated it. Because remember, all that Egyptian, like one of these Egyptian columns, me and the Queen used to go to and see all the time in Central Park. It's still there, right behind the museum where they would do the rituals at. We caught them one night doing that stuff. They had the candles and the procession and the whole thing. We on the outside of the window cursing them and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real. So again, so you mean to tell me you can take a rock that existed before cranes existed, and cut the face off without cracking the ancient rock, and then move it to a whole nother side of the place? This ain't just like moving the obelisk that they moved all over the place. Look, they even got the hook in it to make it easier for it to set in the stone. Like, they look like it's built better than the people who put it up. Look, they put the cracks in it and everything. Real talk. There's a replica of this same one right now in Shenzhen, China, right now. The same way like this. Because the reset history was all fake. In my book, The Dark Scope 418, I wrote this dialogue where the characters were talking about time travel, and he joked and said that the CIA created dinosaurs to discourage people from doing time travel. And that I wrote it like that also as a disposition because at the time, when I was a little kid, I really wanted to be a paleontologist. And my mother bought me, like, she would take me to the museum. We would look at the bones and the Stegosaurus and the Brontosaurus and the Triceratops and all of that. My favorites was the Stegosaurus and all of that. I was really into dinosaurs. So long story short, years later, I get knowledge of self. And, you know, I'm doing the knowledge to it, and I come across this thing called Classica Dinosauria. And in doing the knowledge to it, you came across the science or a historical anomaly that took place in the British Empire, or I would say the British Empire at the time. This was called if you haven't heard about it, this is all fact now. It was called the Bone Wars, right? And the Bone Wars was a mixture of what happened after the British strung out most of China on opium and excess chicken. So there's a guy. Okay, so what was the Bone Wars? Okay, first I'll get to that. The Bone Wars were, it was also known as the Dinosaur Rush. This was a period of immense and ruthlessly competitive fossil hunting and the discovery during the Gilded Age of American history. Remember that word, Gilded Age of American history, marked by the heated rivalry between who? Edward Drinker Cope, and Othniel Charles Marsh. Now, the Gilded Age. Somebody in class look up the term gilded. What does the word gilded mean? Well, look up the term Gilded Age and look at the dates they give you. Somebody in class. There's books you can get on this too. I'm about to show you. Anybody? The Gilded Age. When was that? Here we go. 1560. Past participle. Adjective. Thank you, Kimberly. Middle English. Had gilded. Modern use. More dignified past. Participate of. What is that? Gild? Yeah. Gild alternative. Shakespeare lies never gilded. Okay, it's giving you. Okay, Gilded Era as an era of U.S. history. From when? 1870 to when? 1900. So what does that tell you? Took place during the time of all of the BS, of the upheaval, of the fall of Granada. Because remember, you got to look at the fall of Granada from 492, essentially, really, to like 900, because we were still falling. And then once it reached the 900, they put the 1 in front, created the 1900, and then galvanized it by taking 580 years from our calendar, adding 580 years to theirs, thus creating what? 580, that's 1,160 years that they could add. This then added with the fake calendar that they had been using, right? Had added now to the time vacuum that they could add all of this fake stuff that we have now become victims of to believe that it was real. Okay? So when you hear Gilded Age, think humanity coma. Like mass humanity coma. Okay? So that Gilded Age, which was ushered in, they had to create a past, a history, okay? And so this is where a guy named Sir Richard Owen came in. Before the guys we spoke about before then, before Cope and Marsh, before they beef, there was this devil. This devil's name is Sir Richard Cohen. Sir Richard Cohen was a part of the British Royal Society. The British Royal Society was also in charge of the antiquity section of the British East India Company that was importing documents, porcelain, all of that from ancient China, the Black China that they had shut down and had put in the foreign Chinese as the puppet governors or whatever. So they was importing that. They also was importing heavy amounts of poultry, and they were having an excess of bones and stuff left over from that. So during this period, this dude was really didn't like Darwin. He really hated Darwin. So he needed to come up with a theory that was contrary to Darwin's, that basically said that no, not only was survival of the fittest, but there were the documents, the reptiles that you researching today are the descendants of these other things, right? And so this dude created a science called Classica Dinosauria. And this science of Classica Dinosauria found Sir Richard, what I say his name? Sir Richard Owens, I think his name is. It found him in the studio drawing and creating these elaborate things with skeletons, but he needed material to prove the fossil. So they got the chicken bones, the excess chicken bones that was left over from all of the chickens and stuff that was coming in from the British East India Company and all of their shenanigans, right? Because they was stuffing the opium in the chickens. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is how deep these British niggas was getting money. They was sticking the opium in the chickens, and then they would poison the chickens, so they couldn't even eat the chickens. So they was left with the rancid chicken meat, which they would give to the peasants, and then they was left with the bones. So you had huge things with bones. Then you had all of the bones that they was importing in from all the killed buffaloes and stuff that they was doing in the U.S. So they had to do something with this. So they used some of it for mulch. They tried to make some of it with bricks, but it wasn't that good. So here comes your boy, right? Sir Richard Owen. This nigga come in and he creates a whole science of what would have existed in terms of the dinosaur. And so he needs the fossil. So what he do is he go and get the chicken bones and start to create the fossil from the bones to create these things that you see right here. You see these things? This never existed. Would you understand? Matter of fact, there's no dinosaur fossil found completely whole in the world. It's natural. It's never happened. You understand what I'm saying? And this is from somebody who wanted to be there. I wanted to waste my life going to some dusty place digging for shit that ain't there. This is how deep I was in the game, and I was shocked reading the book, reading about this stuff. So I'm like, but wait, how did this nigga get away with this? Well, because they had to create a history for all of the stuff that they had lucked into based upon us now being dejected. So this went along with the history of a time existing before man. You see, this is the whole thing. But what does your Circle 7 Quran tell you? What does it read? I'll read it to you. He tell you from the door. Anything else is cat, as they say. Time never was when man was not. If life of man at a time began, a time would come when it would end. That is a cyclical loop. You understand what I'm saying? That right there, that statement right there is a closed loop. That's a circle. Because it was also written as a rhyme / palindrome. Time never was when man was not. So what these niggas got to do is create a history in which something existed before us. So that way they can place themselves. Remember, they did not exist before a certain time. This is not fiction. This is reality. This right here that you're seeing is fake. Every image of a dinosaur you ever saw is fake. It's fake. Not because I hate dinosaurs. Remember, if anybody wanted to believe in it, it was me. You could ask my mother. She'll tell you. No, this nigga loved a dinosaur. You heard? He had books. He had the stickers. I had the hats. I had it all, fam. So I'm telling you, it's fake. It was all fake. So what happened was after this dude did it, the British dudes needed to get the rest of the world. Remember, the British is running the world. They got to remake the history. They got to take the old opulence away from you and make you think.
Hit the like button, man. Hit the like button. Support the channel. Make sure y'all support the channel. Thumb up the video. All that good shit, man. We're going to keep it rocking, man. Support the channel, man. Make sure y'all share the live stream. Share it on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. You know what I mean? Facebook, wherever. You know what I mean? Support the channel, man. Who wants some smoke? Who wants some Debo, nigga? Anybody want to get some smoke? I'm going to drop the link in a minute. Pop out.
That you existed after them. So what did they do? They created a history for it, in which now the dinosaurs existed, which went with the Darwin thing, which then gave them the right now to kill original people with impunity. See, Darwin gave them the ability to say survival of the fittest. So if the indigenous cultures can adapt and stop us from killing them, then it's their fault. See? Richard Cohen created the idea then that there was a time before man, i.e. a time before God. You see? You see what I'm saying?
Brothers and sisters, this is urgent. I am standing in front of the masjid for the largest Islamic center in New York City, and the only way to get inside the masjid is to go up these stairs right here.
And then created a science on it. So here come Cope and Marsh. This is a thing I found on the internet.
Bullshit.
which was basically like a cartoon about the start of their beef. Like the Bone Wars is legendary. These niggas, I'm gonna get to this. Okay. So Cope, so look, it's a splendid creature, Cope, but there's just one thing. What's that? You put the head on the end of its tail. So he's saying this whole thing that he put together was backwards based on the drawings that this nigga gave him. See, Colt and Marsh took the drawings and the fake writings and the stuff that your boy did and got a grant from the Royal Museum that was trying to put it out there that these things existed, because this was the educational system based on the Russian-Prussian system that was used, called Kindergarten, to dumb down the humans that was now under their jurisdiction. Okay? This is all part of the same Inquisition, making people stupid with fake history. So the dinosaur fit right into that. So now we got to come up with a reason why the dinosaurs is no longer here. What happened? Damn, what happened? So they come up with, they can't tell you what really happened. One, they didn't exist. Two, everything that's messed up now was messed up from the Great Cataclysm, right? Because all of these structures in the Grand Canyon and the rest of the world was all melted, broke down. So whatever happened was so cataclysmic that them just coming into it had to do something. So what happened? So along comes this other dude who was studying Newtonian theory, another farce. Newtonian theory is another farce. All of that shit is fake, because all of that was imbued by the Venetian oligarchy, who were the first pieces of crap, but they was dark skinned, they was black though. These were the first pieces of crap that initiated all of this fake stuff to get away from the Moorish Renaissance that was happening in the rest of the world. So these dudes alley-oop it to these dudes. So by the time it get to Marsh and Colt, these idiots take the fake information. Remember, this is all fake. They took all of this from Owen, who was imbued with the grant from the British Society that was using the chickens that they was using to create the fossil bones with as a leftover commodity to make money off of the loss of being able to sell the chickens after they took the dope out of them. So all of this crap goes down. These two niggas decide, well, we need that grant money too. They start getting into the game, and then they start warring with each other, where they start creating their own sketches. Cope start making his own sketches. Well, I don't think that the tail will go in the head. I think this is where the head would be. Cope is like, you're an idiot. Marsh is like, no, I'm not. You're the idiot, because anybody would see if there was a real spot. Remember, none of this is real. This is what I'm trying to tell you. None of this is real. Keep that in mind. None of this is real. But it is. This is what I'm telling you now. This is the birth of paleontology. This is the birth of archaeology. What are you talking about? You know how many people are paying money to universities to get degrees in paleontology? You don't even get it. You don't even get it. Look, dragons are realer than dinosaurs, bro. Dragons is real. Like, I believe in that shit. Not a damn dinosaur, though. You know why? Because they even proved it. You could go online. There's been books written about it that said, that took an actual, that took the actual, like, outline of a Tyrannosaurus Rex and basically put where the organs were supposed to be at, or like a brontosaurus. Do you know if that was actually real, these things would not be able to move. They would not be. How can you exist with arms, right, sharper, smaller than the rest of your body? You can exist, you can do it, right, if you had to, but why would nature evolve something that is the apex? This is the head predator. So the head predator of the whole thing don't got no arms? What the fuck? What are you talking about? That doesn't make sense. So it could run fast, but you try running with your arms next to your belly, next to your body without moving them to see how far you get. You mean to tell me this thing could reach up speeds of up to 268 miles per hour, 3,000 miles per hour with no arms to balance itself? Okay.
Hold on. They said motherfucking dinosaurs run 3,000 miles per hour. Tell me that's some bullshit. He said 200 miles per hour. Ain't no animal running 200 miles, no motherfucking miles per hour, dude. A cheetah barely runs 77, 80 miles per hour. No damn dinosaur running, man, that's crazy.
Oh, okay. So that's what I'm trying to say. If dinosaurs are fake, so I'm all with the fantasy. I'm all with the mythology. I'm cool with it because it makes for great stories. Like I'm trying to get the rights to, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a great movie. Like this would be great. Just for the fact that you can't get people to see it for what it is. You got to put it on Netflix. Unfortunately, that's what you got to do. You got to do it that way. That's the only way they'll get it. They're not going to see it any other way. Look at the whole riots. Look at what happened just now with the George Floyd thing and all of that. All of that, right? Does George Floyd get money? The George Floyd family getting any money every time they use the word George Floyd for whatever they're doing? No. No. But somebody's getting money off of that name, George Floyd. Somebody trademark copyrighted that, I bet. Because it probably don't exist. There probably is no George Floyd. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, the stories, it's all posturing. So you got to put it in a way that they get it in the form of the story. Like they've been showing us Moors on TV forever. Big up to Mr. Tibbs. Your boy. He just passed. Right? But your boy, he been showing you. He was one of the first people. He's one of the first actual melanated men to play a real Moor on film. Bless you. Thank you. With white slaves. This nigga was whipping white people. Bless you. He was whipping white people in Morocco with fezzes and turbans on, putting them into slavery, making them work at a time when they was allegedly hanging niggas in Mississippi like 3 a week. And married to a white woman. But all his side chicks was black. You know what I mean? Like these niggas ain't, they the worst. Yet he did what he could. You know what I'm saying? Like this was on Mark Curry's show. Somebody posted this the other day. Today, they all corporations today, right? Is anybody boycotting them? Because what this says is that they was bringing so-called people to be executed or exterminated all over Europe. Why are they only talking about Germany? Why? Farben, yes. IG Farben, that's right. Volkswagen, they said that's the joint that Hitler created himself. Which is a great car. It's a great car. For the most part, right? Think about it. One of the greatest things that America was building was cars. And right after World War II and all of that, what was the first thing they did? They shut down the automotive industry. Why? Because the automotive industry, what you don't know, is tied into the Department of Defense. and that every automotive industry in the country that was set up had requisition orders that, God forbid, an emergency was established, they could convert their factories to weapon-making factories within 24 hours. Look it up. So destroying the American muscle car industry. America's made the best cars in the world. In the whole world.
That's a hell of a point you just made. You know, to get rid of the, that's a hell of a point. Let me run that back for y'all. That was a hell of a point.
Right? Think about it. One of the greatest things that America was building was cars. And right after World War II and all of that, what was the first thing they did? They shut down the automotive industry. Why? Because the automotive industry, what you don't know, is tied into the Department of Defense. And that every automotive industry in the country that was set up had requisition orders that, God forbid, an emergency was established, they could convert their factories to weapon-making factories within 24 hours. Look it up. So destroying the American muscle car industry. America's made the best cars in the world. In the whole world. You understand? To now what? Made it where everything foreign was better. Starting with what? The Mercedes-Benz, the BMW, right? Who made that shit hot? Negroes. See? See? Then from the Benz, then who got into the game? The Japanese, right? How many people remember the era in Brooklyn, who grew up in Brooklyn, the era of the Maximas? When all of the dreads had Maximas, tricked out Maximas. That was like the era where all of the Italians had IROC Zs. Like these was eras. You know what I'm saying? That was like the era where everybody had Suzuki sidekicks, where everybody was flipping over them shits. You know what I'm saying? But again, we went within one generation to have these great GTO. What's better than a Pontiac GTO? What's better than a Dodge Charger, than a Mustang, fully tricked out detail? Are you crazy? A Trans Am? Are you crazy? You crazy? A Dodge Charger with a Hemi?
Right. A Challenger? You feel what I'm saying? A Nova? You feel what I'm saying? Hell, a Ford Galaxy. For all that matter, a big body, 2-door, 4-door, don't matter. We love them on American Muscle. Monte Carlos, you feel me? Old school Deltas, you feel me? Come on, man. Where y'all where the muscle car old, you know what I mean, down south is at, man? Hey, shout out to everybody that's tuning in, man. We got like 119, 120 in the chat. Make sure y'all hit the like button, share the live stream, support the channel, man. Support the channel. Support the channel, man. Shout out to Chief Holiday in the chat, man. Shout out to my brother Chief Holiday out there. I see Chief Holiday. Hey, man, for real talk though, hey, what's better than American Muscles, man? Our old heads love them. My granddaddy had that old school Impala in the back, or that Victoria, Crown Victoria in the back. You know what I'm saying? Or that Stankin' Lankin in the back. You feel what I'm saying? Detroit was built off of the Dodge and the Chrysler cars. You see what I'm saying? And imagine if that shit would have gone, they could have turned them bitches into defense shops, making weapons overnight, and got the blueprint to do. Damn, that's some shit.
Nigga, put that next to a Porsche any day. What you call it, any day. A Pontiac, yes, a Vet. Put a Vet next to a Ferrari, tricked out with it any day. See what happens. But all of the engineers, all of that left. Oh, it's finished. You know what I'm saying? Shut the whole thing down, fam. Also, that way they could stop the preparedness for Americans in the factory system. You see? So while you thinking they just all about foreign cars now, no, that serves a purpose. Who the number one people flossing cars right now? Exactly. The new rich rappers.
Cutlass
Who they replacing
Supreme.
2 a week. So here go to the
y'all niggas going in the chat. Cutlass Supremes, all that type of shit, G. And I seen that Impala you got too. That nice violet purple color when you seen sitting out there, man. What you gonna do with that, man? Let me get that off your hands, bro. Since you ain't got my painting together yet, you might as well just let me get the Impala off your hands. What you want for that, man? Just shoot me a ticket. You know what I mean?
So see, the Necropolis Cemetery Station, they had trains going in and out 24 hours a day. Do you understand the people that was working at Auschwitz had health insurance? These niggas had dental benefits. Marching people to the ovens. Like, for real, son. Like, really think about it. We think about it from the abstract, but we got to start to do the knowledge to it from the root. Like, this was a business that these people was running. Think about it. All of the Auschwitz dudes, a lot of those people looked the same. Look, they trying to get into it happening. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I wouldn't get into that. I'm saying the cause of it, who was doing it, and all of that is what's flipped with that. But when you look at a lot of these pictures, a lot of these people look the same. Almost like they was cloned, like they was coming out the same place, especially when they was shaving them down and all of that. You know what I'm saying? You understand? And then remember, all of this happened, and right when all of this was coming down, right before World War I, World War II, and all of that, you get these World Exposition Fairs, where they allegedly built all of these elaborate structures out of paper mache.
Hey, shout out to the anonymous person that just sent the cash out donation supporting the Dollar Challenge, telling everybody to support the Dollar Challenge. They want to stay anonymous. They salute back. Shout out to y'all. Appreciate y'all. Y'all know who y'all are. Appreciate the support. Make sure y'all hit the like button, support the channel, share the live stream. And hey, while we got y'all attention, drop them fire emojis in the chat for me. Drop those fire emojis in the chat.
Jay, and crayons and wax and shit. Right? And then through all of those, put all of those into position, and then made everybody feel like they was in, like, okay, you've seen it. This is what it is. Now knock it down. Then knock down everything, right? And then we're supposed to believe that this is a natural occurrence. How many people knew that the Vatican was set up under Mussolini? Mussolini established what you call the Vatican. He was the one that signed the treaty that allowed them to function independently as an independent state. Isn't that interesting? And then right after that, they did that. So you mean to tell me these people, you mean to tell me, now again, I'm not going into people's religion or whatever. I'm talking this from the perspective of the fake history. You mean to tell me that these people right here created a system by which they, right, could control us today, right? When almost, 40, 50, 80 years, whatever you want to say from it, they themselves was basically wiped out. Then at the same time, within 6 years of the kibbutzes and all of the stuff they was doing, by 1967, they was armed enough to then go in and take over the entire nation, to now establish a Nazi regime system over them. To create a Nazi-like system that they are now perpetrating over everybody else. So, like I said, anybody saying anything when it comes, like when people start talking about, oh, that's when the dinosaurs lived, like, you got to understand, You got to put them on. Like, yo, stop saying that in regular society because people are going to think you're crazy. They don't exist. They never existed. No dinosaur has ever been found. So when they tell you then that they found these dinosaurs and they can remake them like they do in Jurassic Park, remember, that's all cat. If you do see something like that, it's probably a damn robot. Just like the ones that they use in the movie. But you think they just use that just for movie? Like, if it pop off, what you think they're gonna be using? So again, this movement of so-called Caucasians taking over the world and all of that, this was part of the orchestration. I think that was part of the marketing ploy of the new so-called century. Because everything was set up to create a perpetual bondage over the people. Based on, like, if you read books like The Creature from Jekyll Island and stuff like that, what that basically says is that everything that we're participating in is false and fake. And all of these governments is with it. Like, how can people talk about Agenda 21 and still support governments that support that? Why? Because they mass produce people. These are the things that they were also doing in the exposition. They were churning out people. You understand? See the symbol for the penis? See the penis and the two balls? The shaft? It's also like a rolling pin. Like they rolling them out. Where you think all the orphan children was coming from? They were incubating them. See, when we was little kids, they was calling clones and people who were messed with IVF and stuff like that, they used to call them test tube babies, remember? When the last time you heard that term? Remember, they just stopped using that term. Test tube baby. Yes. What you think a test tube baby is, man? Goddamn clone. It's a humanoid. It's something that has been mixed, tampered with artificially. Why was there such a boom of serial killers between the late 1950s with the height being in the 70s with Son of Sam and all of that? Think about it. Because these children were the children of these people who was brought over here with the paperclip stuff, who were already in tune with the mind control situations that had been going on, because the government was now under the control of the establishment of the so-called banking establishment that was now using it to do its thing. Because these were the same billionaires that were written about buying America during the 80s and all. I mean, you know, that time. Think about it. Trains, thousands of so-called melanated children, excuse me, non-melanated children popping up all over the world to the point where they were working them in mines, where laws had to be instituted and not enslaving them, buying them. And they were all put on trains and shipped throughout the entire country in places that were in dispute, in places that were being homesteaded by their precursors who had descended from the ones who had fought in the wars to take the land, give it to the state, and then they could stay on it as renters. This is where you get white people saying, oh, my ancestors been on this land since the early 1800s, because that's when the lots were given, when fake European white people, slaves, was being given land by the land barons, who were being represented by the robber barons. the robber barons were the white decoys working for the black ones who had now basically chosen to side with their Roman ancestry due to the fact that they could trace themselves to the European aristocracy. You see? So again, if dinosaurs don't exist, that means asteroids don't exist. Because whenever you talk about dinosaurs, remember I told you they had to come up with, where did they go? What happened? Okay, look, a giant rock came from the heavens and slammed down and then wiped them out. And then the earth was hot for mad long, and then eventually it cooled, and then that's when the big brown shark came. Look, this was Washington, D. This was Washington. At the time, it was Washington. At the time I'm talking about, it was literally a swamp. This was the only building that was left. Because during the Great Calamity in the war, it was done over. So when he said it was about draining the swamp, he's talking about bringing it back to its original state when it didn't exist, when there was nothing there other than the one beacon that was left to rise out of the muck, which was the top. Because right, what you're looking at is the very top of the pyramid, the step pyramid. You know what I'm saying? So again, us having to be from somewhere else was a paramount. That's important because that is what allows them to maintain the jurisdictional powers that they are doing, because they're working in concert with the other so-called blacks that descend from those that were a part of those societies that agreed to go along with this nonsense. The whole color thing, when you watch the slave movies, you always see the black slave brutalizing the black people on behalf of the white man. The white man ain't even forcing him to do it. He just doing it. And the white man is always propped up. You see? Like he can do no wrong. And he just talks shit about the black people that he's enslaving and all that. And then there's some blacks that's right there with him doing it. Because that's a customary thing. Because up until a couple of centuries, that's what they was doing to him.
I'm gonna pause this bill right there, man. Like I said, I'm gonna do a part 2 to this, maybe tomorrow, maybe later on. Y'all gonna actually enjoy the rest of this build that he got right here. He gets into some heavy shit these last little 30-45 minutes of the build. So make sure y'all tune in tomorrow. Make sure y'all tune in later on. Make sure y'all share the live stream. Hey, support the channel before we go. I appreciate everybody in the chat to tune in. Hope y'all have a blissful day. Hope y'all enjoyed the build. Go check out the debate that was done last night on Big Aboriginal Power News. That's the channel. It's Big Aboriginal Power News channel. Go check that out. It was a debate over there. It was a good debate. 3 topics. Very formal debate. Very information driven. no chaos, no fluky, no biasness, a straight debate, and it was good. Y'all know who won that one. Shout out to me. Shout out to the brother Ramil Amir for showing up. Shout out to y'all for supporting the Aboriginal platforms, the Aboriginal movement. Keep waking up people every day. Deposit something positive with somebody. Memory bank. You feel me? So make sure y'all support the channel. We're going to get ready to get out of here. So I'm going to want y'all to hit that like button. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to really want y'all to slap that like button around. You know what I mean? And I see you guys after a while. You know what I'm saying? Let's go.
Welcome. Once again, it's time. Yeah. It's King Isaiah, I'm demanding respect. I see everybody ballin' till it's time to connect. I see everybody kill us till you hand them a tech. Or cops read them they rights, nightsticks to they neck. Too many chasing the check instead of checking priorities. Flexing heavy on the ground, but you still a minority. Fucking whips, your chains, or anything that came after. Misleading black people, you a fucking slave master. This is Genesis, I'm flipping the page backwards. Listen to intuition, we ain't got the same pastors. Me, I follow no man, I can't be programmed. This soul food set the mood like a fucking slow jam. It's time to eat up. I'm 10 toes down, who gon' defeat us? I'm living gold, aboriginal, check my features. Who gon' speak up? I turn up and blow speakers. My own teacher, I grew up with no leaders. Can't trust people, why? Cause they ain't telling the whole truth. Your directions to heaven, but you live in the hell too. That's how I feel, keeping it real. Love it or hate it, either way they trying to crucify me like the savior. Put thorns in my crown, they knowing that I'm a king. You been crossed too many times, whipped and hung from trees. I am my ancestors from the past that done bled, and now we here resurrected, bitch, I'm back from the dead, immortal. They can't kill me, I'm forever on the rise. They despise my genetics, it's something special about my kind. A descendant of the ones in the tombs. Brown babies coming from wombs, in tune with the sun and the moon, you feel me? If it ain't clear, it's time to switch optics. Cause ignorance got us moving in fear, and that bring them big profits. But I'm a prophet, so I kick knowledge. Cause the shit that you hearing on the radio got us misguided. They got our goddesses hating they real bodies, and the gods getting high off lean and pill popping. Bodies are still